Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Chicago online worship. I am Amos Biggers, a member of the Board of Trustees, and I am glad to serve as your worship associate today. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation, a community of children, youth, and adults, a people of many beliefs and traditions bound not by the specific list of things we believe, but the values we share and the mission to grow our souls and heal the world. Whether you are joining us online for the first time or you've worshiped with us thousands of times, you are welcome here. Whether you believe in God some of the time, all of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. No matter how much money's in your pocket, no matter if you have a PhD, a GED, or no degree, you belong here. We are a people of many races and beliefs. We are a people of many genders and sexual orientations. All of you is sacred. All of you is welcome. You belong here. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, we must distance ourselves physically, but we can't stay connected. In addition to weekly worship on our YouTube channel, follow us on our Facebook page for fresh pastoral content during the week. We have several small groups meeting by phone and Zoom video conferencing for both connection and church business. To get involved, check your weekly email blast or email the church office for more information. Contact information is on our website. If the economic hardships of coronavirus are affecting you, the church is at your side. Our ministers can refer you to resources as well as offering one-time grants from the minister's discretionary fund to the members and friends of this congregation. For more information, just contact the church office to be in touch with Reverend Teri or Reverend David. Throughout today's service, you can interact with one another through the comment section. Simply log into your account or create a new YouTube account to leave comments, reactions, and to share prayer requests. I invite you now to be present to this moment. Let us enter into the service together as the prelude begins.
Let me invite you to get a chalice, a candle, a flashlight if a candle's not handy, a phone light if you don't have that, something that makes illumination. And join me in lighting the chalice. Our words are the chorus from A Cure at Troy by Seamus Heaney, the poet, translating lines 2,000 years old, adapting them. Human beings suffer. They torture one another. They get hurt and get hard. No poem or play or song can fully right a wrong inflicted and endured. The innocent in jails beat on their bars together. A hunger striker's father stands in a graveyard dumb. The police widow in veils faints at the funeral home. History says, don't hope on this side of the grave. But then, once in a lifetime, the longed-for tidal wave of justice can rise up, and hope and history rhyme. So hope for a great sea change on the far side of revenge. Believe that further shore is reachable from here. Believe in miracles and cures and healing wells. Call miracle self-healing, the utter self-revealing double take of feeling. If there's fire on the mountain, or lightning and storm, and a God speaks from the sky, that means someone is hearing the outcry and birth cry of new life at its term. Friends, will you join me in the words of our covenant, the commitment that we make to each other about what it is we're doing here, why we gather, who we're becoming, and who we are. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. I invite you to warmly greet those who have gathered today in the chat, remembering it's public. Say hello. Welcome.
Good morning. At this time, please gather those who are young, young at heart, and your furry friends for a time for all ages. Thank you. This morning, as I share with you some stories about flower communion, you will hear some material that is adapted from the flower celebration information found in Quest, the monthly publication of the Church of the Larger Fellowship, and some information from the Flower Communion, a service of celebration for religious liberals, a Skinner House publication. One day, about 110 years ago, a woman named Maja came to the United States from what is now known as the Czech Republic. She became a librarian, and while working at the New York Public Library, she met a man named Norbert, who had come to America from the same place. They fell in love and got married. Norbert was a Baptist minister, but he was beginning to doubt his Baptist beliefs. Maja encouraged his doubts, and soon he resigned from the Baptist ministry, and they both stopped going to church. One day, their children said that they wanted to go to Sunday school. They chose a church to try, and they came back. Their parents asked them what they had learned. Sounded like the old religion they had rejected. So Norbert said he wished the children would try a different Sunday school the next week. This went on for a few weeks, until one Sunday, when the children found a church that fit them and their beliefs. When they came home and told their parents what they had learned at the Unitarian church, their parents encouraged them to return. Soon, Norbert and Maja decided that they too would like to go to the Unitarian church. They liked it so much, they became members. The Capeks returned to their homeland to start a Unitarian church there in the city of Prague. Most members of their new church had left other religions to become Unitarians. Many of these people did not want to be reminded of the religions that they had left behind either. In 1923, Norbert and Maja decided to create a new ritual for their congregation, a flower communion where everyone exchanged flowers to symbolize how all human beings are connected. Within 10 years, this new Unitarian church grew to have 3,000 members, the largest Unitarian church in the world. Within another 10 years, Nazi Germany started the Second World War. It was a terrible time. Maja came to the United States to raise money to help refugees coming there. While she was in the United States, the Nazis invaded Czechoslovakia, arrested Norbert because he spoke out for freedom, and they put him into a concentration camp called Dachau, where he died in 1942. After the war, Maja stayed in the United States. She was deeply saddened by her husband's death. She continued her relief work with the United Nations Relief and Rehabilitation Agency. She also brought the joyous flower celebration to us here in the United States. Each year when we have our own flower celebration, we give thanks to Maja for sharing that wonderful ritual with us here in the U.S. Unitarians only have a few holidays that are especially our own, so days like Flower Communion are important to us. Think about the special message that we are all connected. Think of how Norbert believed it so strongly that he stayed in a scary place to stand up for his beliefs and for the rights of others. Think of how Maja was sad after her husband died, but how she still never gave up on helping to give a voice to those who needed it. Unitarians live that connection. How can kids work to connect to others in a time when some parts of the world feel so divided? Well, first, talk to an adult. Ask them questions. Tell them how you're feeling. Ask them what it's right for you to do together. Be hopeful. The gifts you bring to the world do have a chance to make it a better place. Protest in ways that make sense for you and learn when it's time to speak up. When you see others treated unfairly, don't be a bystander. Be an upstander. Say something. But also listen, listen, listen. There are some who need to speak who do not wish to be spoken over or for. Make signs so others know that they are supported. And learn history, not just school's version. Read, take classes, go places you have never been and see things you've never seen, and help to make sure others can do the same. Speak the names of remarkable people and make note of all the remarkable things that have been done. And also, don't be afraid to say, that was stupid, when you read history about mistakes others have made. We can learn from them. Help carry in your heart that connection with the gifts that you bring and make space for others to bring. Do indeed help to make the world a little bit more beautiful, just by you being you. Thank you.
Good morning. We will now enter a time of prayer and meditation. I invite you to be present to this moment. Move your body in a way that feels supportive. If you are comfortable doing so, I invite you to close your eyes with me. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Keep breathing in and out. Take this time to focus on your breathing. Notice how your chest rises and falls. Now imagine yourself in a woods, and you are moving down a path. You hear birds chirping in the trees. You feel a breeze touch your cheek as the tree branches move. You continue on, following the path through the trees. Eventually, the path begins to lead you to the edge of the woods. And now there is a small beach and a lake before you. You step out onto the sand and take a seat. The lake is still, reflecting the blue of the sky. You watch the water for a while. Take in the stillness. Breathing in and breathing out. It's time to return now. You stand up and return to the path that you came from. You walk back into the woods. Notice your breath again. And when you are ready, open your eyes. In this community, we hold each other in love and prayer. We dedicate this time in our service to naming what is on our heart. This week, we celebrate the life and mourn the death of member Vivian Joan Forsyth. Joan died on May 13th at 91 years old. May her memory live on in the hearts and minds of all those who knew her well. I invite you now to type into our public chat box any prayers you wish to be held by this community.
His mother was a devout Catholic. His father was agnostic. He, at age 10, became an acolyte at St. Martin's Catholic Church. It was 1890. In the years that followed, he became disillusioned. His priest was a cynic. And at 18, in Vienna, apprenticed to his uncle, a successful tailor, Norbert discovered the Baptists. He became a minister. He founded almost a dozen churches, from Ukraine to Budapest. Yet slowly, his faith became more and more liberal. He left Bohemia under government threat. He accepted a call to serve a Baptist church in New York City. That was until one day in 1919. On that day, he wrote in his diary, "I cannot be a Baptist anymore, even in compromise. The fire of new desires, new worlds, is burning inside me." Norbert and his wife Maya Capek joined a Unitarian church in New Jersey in 1921. For the same reason a whole lot of you sought out a Unitarian church. Their children liked the religious education program. That's the power of Sunday school. World War I ended, and his home country now independent, he and Maya returned home to Czechoslovakia. His Unitarian church there was the Prague Liberal Religious Fellowship. In just 20 years, it grew to 3,200 members. And the traditional Christian communion service, bread and wine, wouldn't meet the needs of his congregation because his church, like ours, had people who believed different things, Christians and non-Christians alike. Capek turned to the beauty of the countryside, to the beauty of flowers. And in 1923, he developed the flower ceremony. He asked his congregants to bring a flower to church from their gardens, the field, the roadside. Each person put their flower in a vase, and there in front was the church community, unique and united, both at once. Following the service, each person took a flower from the vase, a different one than they had brought, each returning home blessed by someone else's beauty. Capek's church was a church that was willing to take risks. It was a church willing to make tough decisions and bear disappointments and be bold and then be even bolder. That's our church too. That was Capek's church, called to practice the three prophetic tasks of every liberal church: realism in the face of ideology, and grief when the world is in denial, and hope when the world is in despair. That's our work too: realism, grief, and hope. For this, the Gestapo arrested him in 1942. Nazis accused Capek of listening to foreign broadcasts. They accused him of high treason and used his sermons as evidence of that crime. He was sent to Dachau concentration camp. And even in starvation and torture, he held a flower ceremony for his fellow prisoners, finding whatever they could among the weeds in the camp. They testified there to a beauty larger than themselves, to a love that would outlive them. Capek wrote, "It's worthwhile to live and fight courageously for sacred ideals." He said, "Blow ye evil winds into my body's fire, my soul you'll never unravel. Even though disappointed 1,000 times or fallen in the fight, and everything would worthless seem, I have lived amidst eternity. Be grateful, my soul. My life was worth living." The Nazis killed Norberk Capek, but his spirit, his courage, his commitment live on today. They've passed to us now. To make real, to be visible. Ours now is the responsibility to stand fast in the liberty and with the liberation for which he died. His wife Maya brought the flower ceremony to the Unitarian Church in Cambridge, Massachusetts in 1940. And 6 years later, the minister of that church brought it with him to Chicago when he came to serve in this city. When we gather in person and share flowers in the service, it isn't because we're historical reenactors of something over and done with. This ritual is an affirmation of our continuity, our participation with the generations of struggle for an ever-widening liberty. The flower ceremony, lovely though it is, isn't a diversion from ugly reality. It is a gentle fierceness which proclaims that in the midst of dark days, there is always beauty, and in the midst of isolation, there is always solidarity. To participate in the flower ceremony isn't to recall something over and done with, but to participate in something that is still happening right now, right here. It's to remember, to put it back together again, that in the remembering of this story, we put ourselves back together again each as a part of the body of this community, out of many, one. The flowers growing in our community right now are hand-painted signs, stenciled signs, printed signs, window signs, electronic signs. The flowers growing in yards right now are signs that proclaim unity, one love, signs which declare Black Lives Matter. These signs, these flowers, are a testimony to a beauty larger than any of us. They're a faithfulness to a love that will outlive us. They declare that we will remember and we will recommit ourselves to the liberty and the liberation for which so many have died. In a voice of solemnity and joy, these flowers call us back to ourselves again, back to the lives we share, the hope we share, the breath we share. This beauty doesn't just comfort us, it commissions us for the work ahead. This beauty does not pacify us, but proclaims a hope which is ours to make real. A flower, a sign, a slogan is a symbol only, not a substitute for reform, not a replacement for change that will and must come. Political, economic, legislative, a flower, a sign, a slogan is a symbol. But we know that symbols change who we are when they remind us who we are called to be, when they remind us who we are, to live and fight courageously for sacred ideals. Amen. Our benediction is from Michael de Vernon Boblet. Blessed be the flower that triumphs at last, over the snows, over the centuries, over the heavy feet of cattle and of soldiers treading down the fragile places of the earth. Blessed be the flower that triumphs at last, over the tangled branches, over the withered stem, over the tearing thorns of roses and of barbed wire. Blessed be the flower that triumphs at last, even over the hand that gathers it, cut off from life, from roots, from the memory and taste of iron and tears in the soil. Blessed be the flower that triumphs at last over the closed rooms that are not its home, over the efforts to domesticate its wild truth, over the vain words of poets and priests. Blessed be the flower that triumphs at last over us, over pasts and futures, over words and silences, over deaths and lives, placing them all in their proper place, restoring all things to their joyful smallness. Blessed be the flower that triumphs at last. Amen. And go in peace.